Breaking to hear what is going to happen.
Yeah.
Well, I'm scared of what's going to happen in Western Europe, too.
Yeah.
You know, you plan a trip, you want to go there. I want to go to Italy for 4 years. I haven't been able to make it because of the pandemic. And now this, it's like, what's going to happen there?
So I started with this video because it's just ridiculous. I'm really sorry for Joy Behar here that, Ukraine is getting in the way of her plans, her Italian travel. Good God. I'm having a guest on soon to actually talk about some of these issues, such as the media coverage of Ukraine versus other conflicts, for example, like Syria, and how these conflicts are being covered differently, basically. And I don't always think that there's a problem with focusing on Ukraine right now because of kind of what it's doing to a structured order that we've had for a long time. But listening to Joy Behar, complain about her trip to Italy is just, I think it shows everything that's wrong with the media right now. Like, that should not be what you're talking about on The View. I'm sorry. But anyways, Alex Kapitko here. This is the Centered from Reality podcast, and it's a Sunday afternoon, which I usually don't record on Sundays. I wanted to put this out Sunday night to make sure and get some thoughts out, mainly about the oligarchs, which I want to focus on because I have finals coming up this week, and I just want to make sure to get this out in case I get too busy and this week's a little slower on the podcast front. I plan on still putting out episodes this week, but you never know. So here we are. I figured Sunday was just a good day to put out an episode about the oligarchs, and I don't plan on covering too much on Ukraine today, just because the news has already been doing that, as you guys know, very frequently. And I want to focus on some of the other factors that maybe have led to this kind of strange Russian state after the end of the Soviet Union. I will just say, though, off the top, is that the coverage is still just so tragic, involving Ukraine. It also looks like talks between Russia and Ukraine about trying to get civilians out of the cities have been halted because the bombing has been so frequently destructive. Talks keep breaking down between Russia and Ukraine. I will add also that these nuclear facilities that have been hit by Russian bombings over the weekend and I guess last week as well are worrying. And Russia just needs to stop this because from what I've gathered, they haven't actually blown up a reactor as of now. But if one of those reactors does get into the flames, it could not only make areas in Ukraine uninhabitable, it could also spill over into neighboring countries. It's scary stuff. And that's what's, I think, constantly making me more scared is that there seems to be no rationale right now on the Russian side. And I do feel for a lot of the Russian troops and the Russian people because I don't think they really know what's happening either. And that makes it even more worrying. I do also worry more and more for Zelensky. I've read a lot of reports about attempted attacks on him, attempted assassination plots. And I do worry about the line of succession if he is assassinated or removed, I saw today before I started recording that there are conversations going on in the West and NATO allies, like how does that line of succession work if something were to happen to Zelensky? So there's a lot of what if question marks happening right now. Before I get into the oligarchs, I will also just touch on how new reports are coming about China. Last Wednesday or Tuesday I talked about China and how they're reacting to this. And there are new reports coming out about China knowing a month ago that Putin was planning on invading Ukraine. And according to these reports, there's a lot. You can look online. President Xi just made it clear to Putin that if you're going to invade Ukraine, wait until after the Olympics are over. Nice, right? Really, really what you want to hear. I just remember back in late January, early February, just kind of almost joking that maybe Putin was going to wait for the Olympics to be over before he invaded Ukraine. But it's actually seeming like that was potentially true because the timeline just, okay, Olympics over, Putin escalates it and goes in. China abstains from the UN Human Rights Council, blah, 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 blah. And, it's weird. I don't think at this moment China wants to go any further. I don't think they actually agree with what Russia's doing, but you could entertain the idea, or the issue, I guess better put, that China does have an interest in Russia destabilizing the West. And I kind of touched on that last week as well, but it's getting complicated because I do think China could gain from what's happening, but they don't really want to openly say it. And just if these reports are true that they were instructing Putin to wait until after the Olympics, that is kind of worrying. And also, the more I think about Taiwan, I do wonder, though, as kind of a positive note to end this, is that I do wonder if this Russian invasion has actually deterred China from taking Taiwan or trying to take Taiwan, because we have seen in Ukraine that the people are unified and willing to stand up against a country that is trying to take their national sovereignty. And I think China's looking at that and going, we would probably see resistance in Taiwan as well. So maybe if we're looking at one thing that's optimistic here, it's that this is potentially deterring China from wanting to just openly seize Taiwan. Again, it's too early to see. It's all just moving so fast, you know. I mean, we're seeing a lot of the Baltics wanting to join NATO. We're seeing Ukraine wants to join NATO and the EU. It's just insane to see this escalation. It's like if Putin really wanted to take Ukraine, he's completely failing because he's just unifying everyone against him. I don't know. You know, I'll leave it at that because there's so many updates going on right now. It's just heartbreaking, but